equations x divided by a equals b, which really just means some variable divided by some other number, or a, equals some other number, b. And our job is to find out what x, or whatever variable we're using, is. Typically, example of this is like the one I've got on the board here, if my pen will work. So something like x divided by 3 equals 10. So we're going to show you guys how to show these, or answer these questions, both pictorially and symbolically using reverse operations. The pictorial model for x divided by a equals b questions, I think, is a little bit easier than the pictorial model for x times a questions. The reason is we don't have to use tiles. We actually just take one big picture and break it down into several groups. If you remember back to our conversations during our integers unit, we said that division, remember, is just taking a whole number and breaking it down into a certain number of groups, or into groups of a certain number. In this case, we're taking our unknown value x, and I'm going to break it up into 3 groups and have 10 in each group. And we're going to show that pictorially, which is not that bad. The best way to start is to draw a big shape. I like to use a circle, but if you had a square or rectangle, whatever, that would work as well, but circles tend to work the best. And this circle represents my unknowns. So this circle is x, and we're trying to figure out what x is, based on the information we have. So I said before that how I'm reading this question is x broken up into 3 groups equals 10. So first thing I'm going to do is break x into 3 relatively equal groups. Okay? And we said that the amount in each group is 10, so I'm going to write 10 in each of these. All right? Now, all I have to do is take what's in each group and add them together, and that will tell me my total amount, and my total amount should be equal to x. So in this case, we're going 10 plus 10 plus 10 equals x, so x equals 30. Which makes sense. If I go back and check my answers, and you should always take time to go back and check your answers, if I go 30 divided by 3, hopefully you don't need a calculator for that, that should be 10. That matches with what my original equation said, so I'm going to give myself a check mark for that one. So when you're doing the pictorial, all you need to do is draw one whole value, in this case my circle, and break it up into either groups, or into 3 groups or groups of 3. I found it easier to break it into 3 groups, which is why I did it that way. On this one, I could have just have easily taken x and broken it into 10 groups. But for simplicity's sake, let's just say x divided by the number of groups, and then put our answer, or our b value, in for each group. All right, we'll take some more look at that tomorrow in class, and I'll have you do a few more examples, just so you're totally clear on it. The biggest thing to be careful of in these types of questions is if you had a negative value, because remember, you can't have a negative group. So if it was x divided by a negative value, you would have to break it up into groups of whatever your answer was. But we're not going to worry about that too much today. We'll worry about that in class tomorrow. As long as you get the major idea here, you're okay. Let's move on to how we solve these problems symbolically, or using just the straight up math, which typically in class we talk about doing reverse operations, and that is how you should go about remembering these. So just like we did with the x times a work, we want to sort of isolate x, get it on its own, and then our answer should just be whatever x equals. So we want to have a final statement that looks like x equals something. All right? So to do that, what we have to do is sort of undo everything that's currently being done to our unknown value. So in my first example, I'm dividing n by 4, and that equals -3. So what we want to do is get rid of this divide by -4 business. We don't want that there. We want to have just a final statement that has n equals something. All right? So to get rid of it, we have to do the reverse operation of what we're already doing to it. So because I'm dividing n by 4, to get rid of that divide by 4, I'm going to go 4 times n divided by 4. And just like with the x times a equations, multiplying by 4 and then dividing by 4 actually cancels itself out. Because if I multiply n by 4 and then divide my answer by 4, it's like I've done nothing to it. It's like I said yesterday, in class, if I multiply 3 times 5, and I get 15, and then I divide 15 by 3, I'm back to 5 again. So what I've done is I've just sort of gone around this process. And so I've got rid of the division by 4, which is what I wanted to do. The problem is we can't just leave, when we do the left side of the equation, we also have to do the right side of the equation, because if I don't, my equation will no longer be equal. So if I multiply my left side of the equation by 4, I also have to multiply the right side times 4. All right? So what I'm left with is n on one side, which is exactly what I wanted. And I'm just going to erase that line so you don't get confused with the division statement. So I got n by itself, and then negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. And so my answer should be n is negative 12. Again, you should always take time to check your work. So I'm going to go negative 12 divided by 4, put that in my calculator, hopefully you know it offhand, and my answer should be negative 3. That matches the equation I have at the top here, so I did it right. With algebra, always take time to do this extra step. If you do this extra step, you will always, always, always know if you were right or wrong. So if you made some calculator error somewhere or weren't sure about something, you can double check with your own answer, which is lovely. All right, let's do a couple more examples just to make sure everybody's totally confident with this stuff. So this time I'm dividing b by negative 2, and that equals negative 4. So because I'm dividing b by negative 2, what I want to do to get rid of that division by negative 2 is multiply b times negative 2 as well. Divided by negative 2 equals negative 4. But again, whenever I do the left side of the equation, I also have to do to the right side of the equation. So I'm going to now multiply this side of the equation by negative 2 as well. So now b is just going to equal negative 4 times negative 2, and negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. I'm just going to go back and check my work here. So 8 divided by negative 2 does equal negative 4, so my answer is correct. Has to be correct. All right, let's move on to our last example. This one's only a little bit tricky because it has that negative x value, which can sometimes throw students off if you're not careful. The way I recommend that you do it, and your teacher may tell you otherwise if you're not in my class, is to do everything like normal, but ignore that negative for now. So because I'm dividing negative x by 6, I'm now going to multiply negative x by 6. So 6 times negative x divided by 6 equals 3. And I also have to multiply this 3 times 6, because whatever I do to the left side of the equation, I also have to do the right side. These two 6's on the left cancel out, so now I know that negative x equals 18. All right. The problem I have here is that I don't care what negative x equals, because I want to find x by itself. I want to know what positive x is. But what's nice is all I have to do to find positive x is just reverse or give the opposite symbol in each case. So my negative x now becomes positive x because I just took the opposite symbol. And positive 18 becomes negative 18 because, again, I just took the opposite symbol. The other way you could have gone about solving this is instead of multiplying by positive 6, you could have multiplied by negative 6 and divided by negative 6. But that becomes a little bit more complicated. So if this way makes sense to you, just remembering that negative x equals 18 must mean that positive x equals negative 18, then you're in good shape. So this is the first video that we've recorded of this style. Please let us know how it worked out, if you liked it or if you didn't like it, what helped, what didn't help, or what we could do to improve it. We want this to be a really positive experience. We hope that this helps you guys out at home when you're doing homework, or we hope that it helps you in class when we're doing work. Please come prepared tomorrow with questions to ask, examples, and be prepared to answer your own questions. Thank you for watching, and please give us any feedback that you can.